Hello guys, it's Diana Do here. Tonight I'm going to make a video, a soft spoken video, where I talk about my 3 favorite video games. Well, I'm actually missing one. If we find the time, we'll do it. And I would like to start with my all-time favorite. It's a Super Nintendo game. It was released in 1996 in Europe. It's called Terranigma. It's the third of a sequel, which is kind of a loose sequel. The first game was Illusion of Gaia, and the second game was Soul Blazer. Terranigma is an evolution of the two because it presents both a very dynamic fighting system, but the story evolution is still very that's much more deep than the other two games. I played this game for the first time when I was a kid. I was 8 or 9. And I remember seeing my aunt enjoy this a lot, and I literally fell in love with this game, and I was kind of upset that I couldn't play with it because it was very hard to find, and back then SNES games were very, very expensive. I remember seeing my aunt play with this, and we all had difficulties because we did not speak English back then. It's an action role-playing game, and it is still very, very modern, even though it was released long ago. It's not actually, I'm not sure if it really was released in 1996, because it was released in 1996 in Europe, but I think it was released earlier in Japan. It's still a very, very old game. 95. I thought it was a bit earlier. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, the main story is that you're this boy, and he looks like he's wearing a skirt, but he actually has flare pants. He's kind of fashion, actually. He has pants which look like those MC Hammer wears. Okay. This is the box front, and I would die to have the original. I would love to have the boxed game, but they're so expensive. The cheapest ones you can find on eBay are all from Germany, and I don't speak German. I would really kill to have an English version without having to pay hundreds, but I know that I'm just expecting too much. This is the back of the box. And this is when you resuscitate the parts of the world. And this is tower number 4, if I'm not wrong. This is Mermaid Tower, I think. And this is Lore. What does the back of this say? A boy's curiosity triggers events that lead to the resurrection of life on this planet. In the distant past, a calamitous struggle between light and dark took place on this planet. The clash of 2 opposing powers scored the planet's surface entire life, and the 2 forces fell into deep sleep. In the world on the inside of the planet, there exists just one small village of Krista. Ark, a mischievous teenage boy, somehow causes a crisis in the village that makes it necessary for him to leave. His trip to save his fellow villagers eventually becomes a journey across time to resurrect the planet. On his epic journey, Ark must resurrect continents, revive all forms of life, and re-establish civilization. What fate awaits Ark at the end of his journey? This is a great game. Basically, start off as Ark. He's a very, very funny main character. And you just cause mischief and you mistakenly open a door which you're not supposed to open in this village, which you've never exited because there's no door to outside of this village. When you go down the stairs after you've entered this door, you find this box, and everyone in the village is frozen except you and the elder. So you have to go on a journey in 5 towers outside of this village, which is in the inside world, to resurrect all the villagers. And while you're going through these towers, you will be resurrecting also the outside world. And you'll be resurrecting continents. But to resurrect the rest of the earth, you will have to leave your inside world and go down a hole where you will, which will basically throw you in the Amazon. But Amazon will have no forest, no greens, because you have to resurrect them. After winning that dungeon and saving plants, you'll be able to talk to them, and they're also positive and so funny. And you'll have to resurrect birds after that, so that you can travel across continents. You will then resurrect animals, and after animals you resurrect humans. After that, the other part of the journey begins. What can I say? You have to play this game. If you're an RPG passionate person, this is basically the father of all RPGs. It has a great story, great gameplay, and it has so many references to real life. And it has lots of people that really existed, like here we can read. There was Bell. You help Bell with the invention of the telephone. In the game, he gives up on his invention after he gets dumped by his girlfriend due to the lack of hearing from him. After turning into an alcoholic for a while, he vows to finish his invention in order to save people from the same fate. He invents the telephone on the basis that other people can keep in touch with their partners and not succumb to the same fate as his. Exactly whether this is true or not is unknown. In reality, Alexander Graham Bell, 1847-1922, was a British scientist who patented his invention, the telephone, in 1876. I'm sorry, got some problems with numbers today. He later experimented with a type of phonograph in aeronautics. He also invented the tricycle undercarriage. This is one of my favorite websites to get information on video games. I will zoom in the title for you. It's called RPG. You see, shines.rpgclassics.com, and every game has it, and I will post a link because this is where you find all the information you need, and you get very clear walkthroughs. This game is very interesting because it also gives you the chance to expand towns, as some towns in Terranigma can actually grow and change over time. Here's a detailed list of everything you need to do in order to expand them. Leeds and Suncoast only have 2 expansions and the others have 3. So for some towns, like Lawyer, you have to vote for a certain person. And for other expansions, you have to, say in this case, taste wine 3 times and then bring the bottle to a girl in another town. In this case, you have to go from France, because Lawyer is in France, to Freedom, which is in America. And you have to help someone develop the camera. And for Freedom, in this case, you have to try Belle's new invention, which is a phone, and help Will invent the plane. And so on and so forth. So this game, Terranigma, is very, very... it is still very modern, even though it was released almost 20 years ago. And so I personally suggest that if you have a Nintendo working, and you play with it, because it really is worth it. Okay, so this was Terranigma. Another one of now we're uploading a video. It's my brush video. Took a while. Another one of my favorite games was Azure Dreams. It was released in 1997 by Konami. Oh, sorry. Terranigma was released by Enix. Okay, I think that Enix is the same that developed Star Ocean 1, Star Ocean 2, and then it worked now with Squaresoft, if I'm not wrong. Okay, Azure Dreams is dungeon RPG. It is turn-based, extremely turn-based, and it basically talks about a koch who is a very poor boy. We can see him here, and we can see him here as well. It's koch, and he is a boy that lives in Munsbaya, and his family is pretty poor. His dad passed away after exploring this tower. He used to be one of the most successful dungeon explorers. He would find so many treasures and so many monsters to tame, but one day he mysteriously disappeared. So when Koch turns 15, he wants to become a good monster trainer like his dad was. And so you enter the tower for this first time, and you meet Kyun, which is a talking monster, which you meet right when you enter the tower. And he'll be your first familiar, and although he's the only one of his kind, you can swap him out when you get new monsters. Yes, what's particular about this game is that, first of all, it is very hard. It's a very hard game because you lose a lot. It actually took me some weeks before actually understanding just how I was going to survive the first few floors of the tower, because this tower is composed of 40 floors, and the hard enemies start at floor 3. And considering that floor 1 is the first floor of the tower, and floor 2 is where you meet your not so friendly guy Gosh, but you fight him easily, and he gives you items. He gives you medicinal herbs or wind crystals, which will allow you to go back to the town without losing your items. And it's the only other way. It's the best way to go back to town. Otherwise, you can decide to go with an apple, which makes your monster vanish, or to die, and there you lose all your items. Anyway, it's very hard because you start the tower every time at level 1. You can only enter with 5 items, and the most important thing to do when you're playing with this game is trying to get hold of non-rusty equipment, because there's rust traps all over the place, and and they will ruin your equipment. So you better find a gold sword, and you have to look for a mirror or diamond shield, so that you can temper them, and they will make great weapons and defense items. You'll have to find a good monster to rise the tower with, and finding monsters is very hard because you have to find eggs, which are very rare, and to find a monster which is on a certain level, which you encounter on a certain level, you will find the egg on a much higher level. My favorite monsters to fight with, to fight alongside with, were griffins and krakens. There's much better ones, but you find them too high in the tower, and in my opinion, when you find them, you're too strong already, and you won't need a monster. what's so particular is about this game is that you start out as a poor boy, but then you make lots of money in the tower if you're successful. So you can improve the house, make your mom happy, give her lots of gifts, and you will just become stronger, famous, and you'll achieve lots of girlfriends. In the Japanese version, after you end the game, you're supposed to get married with a girl. And you could also fall in love with a guy, which is gosh. But in the American version, this was changed because the main character is 15, so he cannot get married. And the option of falling in love with a guy was removed because of cultural reasons. You can have 7 girlfriends, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it's Nico, Selfie, Fur, Patty, Mia, Vivian, and Cheryl. It's a very particular game, and if you're fond of claustrophobic dungeons, then my suggestion is to play with it. If you like challenges, if you like leveling up and you're a patient person, if you like turn-based fights where you can take all your time to think of your decisions, then my opinion is to try this game. It's gonna be so worth it. Okay, so this was part 1 of this video, and for size reasons I have to upload it and it has to be a smaller size file. And in the next video I will talk about more games which I like and good reasons to play with them. So this was Diana Do here. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll enjoy these games. Goodbye and good night.